everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Ashley and today we're going to be starting a really fun reading vlog where I read a book that my friend Elizabeth from the channel Reading Wryly picked out for me. One of my good friends here on BookTube. We read really similarly, which is always nice to find in a friend, and she just has a really fun, positive energy. She's so funny and not afraid to just be herself. And if you're not already subscribed to her channel and watching her content, you are definitely missing out. So I will have her information linked down below so you can go check out her channel and her other social medias and just get to know her. She is just so fun and I really recommend checking out her stuff. But today we have decided that we're going to be swapping books for each other or picking books out for one another that the other one likely wouldn't pick up. The guidelines here were not firm. I probably broke the rules a little bit in my recommendation for her, but essentially we wanted to pick a book that the other one wouldn't necessarily have right at the top of their TBR, not the most popular next thriller or horror book coming out because we know we're going to read those already, but just something a little bit unique or maybe underrated or maybe a backlist book that you just wouldn't think to pick up that we think the other one is really going to enjoy. So if you want to see what I picked for Elizabeth, you can head on over to her channel and watch her vlog and see her whole experience with the book that I picked for her. But today I'm going to be figuring out what it is Elizabeth picked for me. I've been very excited to see. I have precariously wrapped the book in this tote bag. On the day it was delivered, it was raining outside and my package got left out in the rain and the box was like pretty soaked, but the book is still in good condition and safe. I had my partner check for me. He did the unboxing out of the wet box and we had no other boxes, so he just wrapped it up in this tote bag for me. So I've had this sitting here and it's very hard to avoid, so I'm really excited to see what she picked out for me today. But first, Elizabeth has sent me a video giving me a couple hints or clues or reasons why she picked this book for me, so I want to check out that video first and then we'll come back and we will unbox, or rather unravel, what the book is.
Hey Ashley, I am so excited about this collaboration, so thank you for doing this with me, and I'm really excited to see the book that you're going to send me. But this is not about me, this is about you. So let's talk about your books. If you don't know me, I'm Elizabeth. I also read books over at Reading Wryly. So if you want to check that out, I will be over there. Ashley and I read pretty similarly, but I do read a lot of mystery thrillers primarily. I also really have a place in my heart for SFF, and I like a lot of speculative stuff, things that talk about human nature, the spectrum of good and evil, and how we fall in between. I like a lot of deep character work, stuff like that. So if you're interested, pop over on my channel and check it out. But for right now, let's talk about this book that I picked for you, Ashley. So I gave you two options because I couldn't decide. I had option A and option B, and you chose option A. This one that you chose was the riskier of the two, but it did have a higher rating on Goodreads. So I thought maybe we have a good chance of this being something that you like. I don't know, but I want to show you the one that you didn't choose, and that was Meet Me in Another Life by Catriona Silvey. I've been pushing this book on everybody, and I really love it because it's got that speculative quality to it, but you didn't pick this one. You picked option A. At its core, this is a mystery thriller, so we're not going too far out of your comfort zone. Also, it's one of those John Mars-esque books where it's set 5 minutes into the future, so to speak, and we have all of these implications that we're not dealing with now, but which could happen if the world worked out a certain way. I find that really interesting. I think you like that kind of speculative aspect of things too, so I think you might like that. Now, the one thing that's the most risky in this is there is a perspective of a detective. So I'm kind of pushing you here. I'm pushing you to read a little bit out of your comfort zone. I gave this book 5 stars. I really enjoyed it, although I did read it a long time ago. I honestly don't know how you're gonna feel, but I hope that you love it. If you don't, I will not be offended, I promise. Anyway, thank you for doing this with me. It's gonna be a blast, I already know. And I will see you soon.
Okay, so that is so funny. We completely like filmed our clips for each other without knowing what we were saying. And I feel like we said a lot of the same things too, of just both of us mentioning that we read really similarly and talking about the speculative and sci-fi things we enjoy too. So like I said, go watch my video on her channel to see what I said to her, but that is so funny because it was like the same thing, which is great. Yeah, it's so funny that she gave me option A and B, and she gave me nothing to go off. She was just like, pick a letter, A or B, to pick which book you want. I just picked A because my name's Ashley, so I picked A for Ashley. But I would have really loved to read option B too, because I know Elizabeth loved that book, Meet Me in Another Life, and I do have that on my radar. I do think it's something that I would enjoy too, so I'm probably gonna read that one either way at some point. But option A, I am a little bit nervous with this detective point of view, but I am glad that she's pushing me outside of my comfort zone a little bit. I have wanted to get back into reading a couple more detective POV books, because I know I say all the time that I don't like detective books, but I don't want to discount them forever. Like, I think there can be circumstances where I do like them, so hopefully this one's gonna be a good one. If she rated it 5 stars, then hopefully we've got a good chance of loving it. I also love books that are set like 5 minutes in the future, like the John Mars-esque, where it's just pushed a little bit into the future of like something has gone a little bit wrong. You could definitely see that happening. So that sounds really interesting, and I'm very intrigued to see what is gonna be in this bag. So let's do it. Let's unravel it together and see what is in here. Oh, it's a bag within a bag. Look at my partner going the extra mile. What is this bag? Oh, a ShopRite bag. Okay, it's a hardcover and it's wrapped in plastic, which is interesting. Oh my gosh. So this is Lock-In by John Scalzi. What an interesting choice. So I have a little bit of a history with this book, actually, which Elizabeth does not know about. I used to own this book for a very long time. It's a book that I picked up years ago before I ever had a booktube channel, and I got it at a bargain store because I thought it looked interesting one time. It was a mass market paperback, which I don't love holding mass market paperbacks, and so I didn't end up ever reading it, but I did end up coming across an audiobook of it once. I listened to the first little bit and I thought it sounded really interesting, but I've always kind of wondered if I should go back to this book or this author, because I hear him talked about quite a bit and it does just sound like something I would really enjoy. So this is like a perfect pick. Let me take it out of this plastic so we can see what the actual synopsis is. I'm very glad it came in not a mass market paperback. So this says, not too long from today, a new highly contagious virus makes its way across the globe. Most who get sick experience nothing worse than flu, fever, and headaches. But for the unlucky 1%, nearly 5 million souls in the United States alone, the disease causes lock-in. Victims are fully awake and aware, but unable to move or respond to any stimulus. The disease affects young, old, rich, poor, people of every color and creed. The world changes to meet the challenge. Quarter of a century later, in a world shaped by what's now known as Hayden syndrome, rookie FBI agent Chris Shane is paired with veteran agent Leslie Vann. They are assigned what appears to be a Hayden-related murder at the Watergate Hotel with a suspect who is an integrator, someone who can let the locked-in borrow their bodies for a time. If the integrator was carrying a Hayden client, then naming the suspect for the murder will be that much more complicated. But complicated doesn't begin to describe the puzzle that ensues. As Shane and Vann begin to unravel the threads of the murder, it becomes clear that the real mystery and the real crime is bigger than anyone could have imagined. The world of the locked-in is changing, and with change comes opportunity that the ambitious will seize at any cost. The investigation takes Shane and Vann from the halls of corporate power to the virtual spaces of the locked-in and to the very heart of an emerging, surprising new human culture. That sounds so intriguing. I knew it was intriguing because I was interested in this book long ago, but I kind of forgot what the actual synopsis of it was. But yeah, this sounds really interesting. I'm a little more confident in my ability to like it with the detective point of view. If it's like an FBI agent, that just seems a little bit more compelling to me. But usually what I don't love about detective POVs is if you're like following a main story and then it breaks away to a detective POV sometimes and you never get to know those characters. They're just serving as these just like archetype detectives. This sounds like you're gonna get to know the characters, so I feel like I stand a better chance at liking that. But yeah, I'm super excited to jump into this book and see how I feel, so I'll check in with you once I read the first couple of chapters and give you my first impressions on the story. Hello, it has been some time since you have last seen me filming the intro of this clip, and if you cannot tell, I am very sick right now. But I feel okay enough to be reading and vlogging a little bit. I'm actually also filming another vlog right now that I'm at the start of, and I'm very interested to see the progression of when I'm going to be sick and get better. Like, I don't know if I'm gonna get better by the end of this vlog, but then you're gonna be watching me be sick again and get better again. I don't really know, but I'm like day 5 of an unexplained illness that is not COVID apparently, based on negative COVID tests. I think it might be bronchitis.
Not really sure. Just kind of don't have a voice and my nose is running constantly. But I did start Lock-In and I am committing to this vlog. We're gonna get it done. I started this last night. I read the first 50 pages and this is a pretty quick read. The font on the page is pretty large, which is nice. So I do feel like I'm flipping the pages faster, and it's very dialogue heavy versus a lot of exposition. And so I find dialogue to just be faster to read anyway. So I think I'm gonna get through it really quickly, which is good. I have no idea if I'm gonna end up liking it or not. I'm already kind of not loving the detective kind of vibe to it. So far the story is a cool idea. It's a very interesting concept that there has been this person who was murdered or just like showed up dead, and there's this guy in the room, but the guy is an integrator, which means he lets other people use his body who have gotten this locked-in sickness. And so you don't know like if he did it or if the person using his body did it. And it's not as simple, I guess, as just tracing who was using his body, because they have like similar to how clients and attorneys have client-attorney privileges, because this is like a medical situation. There are privileges between the Haydens and the integrators apparently, which seems like kind of just an unnecessary complication. I feel like the police should just be able to say like who was using your body and that must be them. Maybe they did. I don't know. I've also got a little bit of a brain fog, so this might be a little rocky. But yeah, so far they're investigating the case. You're getting to know the two detectives. There's the woman Van, who has been in the force for a long time. She also used to be an integrator, so that's why she works in this specific field. And then you have the new guy who I think his name is Chris Shane. Yeah, his name is Chris Shane, so he goes by Shane. And he is also a person who has the disease, but he uses like a robot body. There's people who use these robot bodies. They're called threeps or something like that, and they use robot bodies. So he's basically a robot, which is really interesting. I'm just trying to kind of figure out the world. I don't know. But yeah, I like the concept. But I am kind of struggling with the detective cop POV. Also, sorry if you can hear my dog eating. I gotta get this done. It does do the things that I typically don't really love in detective POVs, where it's like there's the rookie and the old guy, and this idea of like the local force versus the bigger force, and the local guys want to do the investigation, but the other force is like, no, this is our case. So like there's a lot of that right now, but I'm still gonna give it a chance. Hopefully the story will be interesting enough to help me look past some of the detective-y things. Also, hopefully next time you hear from me, I'm less sick. Okay, actually, just kidding. I have one more thing to say because I was reading like 10 more pages and then I remembered this thing. What is so interesting about the concept of this book is that there was this disease that made people's bodies go into lockdown, so they literally like can't do anything. It's like being in a coma, except you're conscious, I guess. And so there is like the two options for how you can still like live outside of your body, and that's integrators, so like living in someone else's body temporarily, like you rent out their body, or there's the threep situation where you get to be in like a robot body. But either way, it's just like working through your brain somehow. I don't know, but your real body still exists. So this main guy, Chris Shane, will like talk about seeing his real body like laying in a bed, but he's like his brain and personality is in this robot body, and he can like access video camera feeds of his body, and like he gets a tooth extracted and he can like feel that. So that's also really interesting, is that all these people's bodies are being taken care of somewhere with nurses, but also they're either like living in a robot body or experiencing someone else's body, which is a very interesting concept. The next morning, I am feeling a little tiny bit better, like 5% better, which is good because every day until now I've been feeling worse, and I feel like I'm finally on the uphill battle, hopefully, fingers crossed. But I did read quite a bit of Lock-In last night. I am nearly like halfway through the book now. I got to page 145-ish. And to be honest, I think this might just not be my style of book. I think I do just know myself and that I don't love
detective-y books. There's just something about detectives investigating a crime that just doesn't feel interesting to me in books. There are TV shows where I watch that and I don't mind it or I like it, but in books, I just don't find it super intriguing. I would prefer to follow a normal person who gets swept up in a world of crime for some reason. I don't really know why, but I feel like it's mostly because, and at least specifically in this book, it's just so much more plot driven or like world building driven than character driven. And I just really like connecting to characters in stories. And these characters are just not that, I don't know, interesting to me. The main guy, Chris Shane, is interesting because he's kind of been like the celebrity figure for these threeps. He was like the first guy with lock-in to use a threep, and his dad was really famous, and so he became really famous. And so everybody knows him and has prejudices around him. And so like that's interesting. What becomes so much more of the focus is like the crime mystery. And there's just like a lot of characters being thrown in here. There's all of these like official political people. This book is pretty political as well. Like the world is just really political. His dad's trying to run for Senate, and there's all these different political opinions around what should be done around lock-in syndrome, if they should try to cure it or if they should try to accept it as a new form of humanity. So it's all interesting concepts, but I just gravitate more towards character-driven things versus like world building, politics, a crime scene. But it is still a fast read. I mean, I'm getting through it very quickly. It is still an interesting story. I think people would really like this. And I'm not hating it. It's just not probably going to be my next favorite thing. But again, I'm only halfway through, so I don't know. Maybe things could change, but I'm going to try to read some more of this, and then maybe I'll just let you know when I finish the book, because I feel like it's going to go pretty fast at this point. So I did actually finish this all today, all just in one sitting. It was very easy to breeze through at the end, so I just finished it all today. So I'm still just as sick as I was a couple hours ago, but it's fine. I do feel like my voice is getting better because my throat isn't as bad. I'm not coughing as much. Now I just have like a lot of sinus pressure and a stuffy nose, so it's more like a nasally sound. But anyway, we're almost done here. You almost don't have to hear it anymore. As for how I felt about this story, I think it was fine. It just wasn't my favorite thing. So I think I'm gonna just give it a 3-star. Actually, what I thought also might be interesting is Elizabeth in her reading vlogs typically has a couple factors that she rates books on to get to a final score. So I thought I would do that for this book as well, in the spirit of Elizabeth. So the 3 factors that I want to rank this book on is the plot, like how good the actual events of the story were, how entertaining the plot was, the characters, and then intrigue / thrillingness. Since this is a sci-fi thriller, I want to evaluate like if it was thrilling and if I was intrigued throughout it. So as for the plot of this, I think I would give the plot a 3.5 out of 5. The main thing that detracts the points for me is like the pacing of the plot. It was very interesting. It had very interesting world building. The concept was super just like cool and different from what I typically read, since it is more sci-fi and I don't really read a lot of sci-fi. But just generally how the plot was structured was pretty straightforward, and just kind of like you're investigating, you're finding more people, could be this person, you kind of figure out what's going on, and then boom, the story is over. So that's like a 3.5 out of 5 to me, because it's interesting, but I didn't love the pacing of it, and I kind of wish, I don't know, maybe like flashbacks or something to like break it up a little bit to make it a little bit more interesting there. As for the characters, I would give the characters a 3 out of 5. There were a lot of characters in the story, and it was a little bit hard to keep up at times, especially because people will be in other people's bodies as like Hayden's and the integrator bodies, and so that got a little tricky to keep up with, and there was a lot of political stuff going on. Political stuff is just not my favorite thing to read about, so it was just like kind of a lot to keep up with at that point. As for the main characters, you do end up getting to know more about them, and you learn more about their backstory, and the main guy, Chris Shane, is just a really interesting character to follow in general because of his kind of circumstances, but I didn't feel like a ton was really done with the characters. This really was not a character-driven novel. It was a lot more plot-driven, which is going to be great for a lot of people, especially people who like sci-fi. I feel like a lot of what I've seen of sci-fi tends to be pretty plot-driven versus character-driven, and so yeah, that's where I land with the characters in this one. And then as for intrigue or thrillery-ishness,
thrillingness. If it was thrilling, I would give this like personally a 2 out of 5. I just wasn't super invested in the story. I didn't find it super thrilling when things were revealed and you find out who the bad guy is. I didn't have this big like aha moment. I didn't really feel super excited about it because there were just so many characters and it was so political and like, I don't know. It just wasn't for me. So overall, that puts me around like a 3-ish star out of 5 for overall how I felt about the book. I do think people are gonna like this. I know people really like John Scalzi's other stuff too. He has a recent book that just came out that I'm hearing people talk about. So I do think this one is like worth reading, especially if you like sci-fi thrillers, you like things with a bit more politics going on, you like more plot-driven stories, because it does have an interesting just kind of world-building situation going on. But if you're like me and you're more of a character-driven reader and you're not as into sci-fi, I don't know if this is going to like change your mind on those things. But yeah, that is it for this book. Unfortunately, I didn't love it and it makes me so sad when someone recommends me a book and I don't love it, but I know Elizabeth's not going to take it personally. Everyone has different experiences with different books. I'm very curious to see what she thinks about the book that I sent her way. So if you are also curious, make sure you go check out her video as well that she will be doing for the book that I sent over to her. It's also super unfortunate that I was so sick throughout this vlog, but that is just how the cookie crumbled and we just pushed through and made it work. Did that affect my experience with this book? Potentially, because I have been having a little bit of brain fog, but I've been doing pretty okay and I'm good enough to be like reading, and that's my favorite thing to do to relax, to try to heal. So it actually kind of worked out kind of nicely that I had something to keep my mind busy. But yeah, let me know if any of you have read this book or if you have read any other of John Scalzi's books. Let me know in the comments below and let me know what you think about the books. Also, let me know if you liked this experience. Let me know if you're going to check out Elizabeth's vlog. Let me know if you'd like to see me do this again, maybe with Elizabeth, maybe with someone else. I don't know. I think it was a lot of fun. So I'd definitely be down to do it again sometime. And if you made it to the end of the video and you want to leave an emoji in the comments to let me know, then let's do a lock emoji for lock in. But that is it for me. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video, hopefully in a healthier state. Bye.